All right, hello, welcome back. We are working on the next SQL injection. All right, and we're done with the union select one. So we're now on blind SQL injection with conditional responses. So there's a tracking cookie used for analytics, and there's a SQL query containing the value of the submitted query or submitted cookie. The results of the query are not returned. No error message is displayed. The application includes a welcome back message in the page if the query returns any rows. The database contains a different table called users with username and password, and then we need to log in as the administrator users. So interesting. All right, so we have a tracking cookie. There's no error, but welcome back is on the page if the query returns any rows. And so this is why it's blind, is because we cannot get data directly from the database. The results are not returned. No error messages are displayed. But this will be our indicator on whether or not our query returned any rows, is if this welcome back message appears on the page. And that's all we need in order to get going. So let's take a look. Let's start off right away looking at the lab. While this comes up, please remember to like and subscribe. Let me know how I'm doing in the comments. I would appreciate it. All right. So when we're doing blind, I like to think of, there's a few rules, I guess, that I try to build towards, or not rules, or goals. Number one, I'm trying to find a true false. Once I've got a true false statement, I try to work in a length and then a char query, and you'll see how we do that. They said there is a tracking ID. So what if we do this, and it said if the results if it returns any results, it will say welcome back. So here's our tracking ID. What if we just put this or 1 equals 1 and then comment out the rest? I don't know if this worked, but let's give it a try. See how it says welcome back? That did return a result. And let's say 1 equals 2. That does not. So there's our true and false. That's the first step. We need a true and false. Now we need, like I said, a length. All right. So we can do or select. And I'm just going, we don't know the database type, but let's just try this. Select length. Let's pull up the Portswigger cheat sheet. Chrome. And we want Portswigger SQLi cheat sheet. Conditional errors. We can do something like this. We don't know we don't know the database type, so let's just keep going with what we're doing for now. Let's see, where were we? Right here. Tracking ID. So we need a length or that's what I was going to look at. I was looking at the if statements. let's try this. We want to select sleep 5. We don't need this. All right. This will tell us if it's MySQL, right? I think. All right. That did not work. Let's try PG sleep. That did not work. Let's try or. Will or work? Maybe and. Let's go to our trusty. So I'm a little lost, to be totally honest. I don't know exactly what what we need to do. We want Docker exec. Let's open up MySQL just to practice. So if we imagine it was something like select first name from actor, where, no, select asterisk. If we imagine it looked like this, select asterisk from actor, where first name equals Ed. If we imagined it looked like this, where this is where our tracking ID, and we want it to return true or false on link. So we could do a single quote and then space or. Let's try sleep first. Sleep 5. What if we just did like this? Dash dash space. That should sleep. Oh, we need a semicolon. And it does. All right, so that should work. Not a select sleep, just sleep. Make sure this comes back. I just said 5 seconds, right? Not freaking 5 years. All right, that should work. Let's, we can even do this in repeater. HTTP history. We don't have this going through there. Let's turn this on. And let's go here. Here's our query. Let's just try sending this to repeater. And then we'll delete this and this, and we'll put or sleep 5. So nothing or it sleeps. That did not work. So let's try PG sleep 5. That did not work. Let's go to our this. We want, it's a wait for delay. Yeah, right here. Let's try this. That's 10 seconds. That didn't work. So none of this stuff worked. All right, let's go back to the drawing board. Or 1 equals 1. We should get the welcome back. Welcome. There's the welcome back. 1 equals 2. We do not get. You can see 0 matches here. We want to do a length query, or select A. We want to do or select length of this. We need another parent here equals 4. So it's saying select this text A, and then get the length of that. If that is equal to 4, we should get the welcome back, and if it's not, we won't. Welcome, we don't, and we should. So let's go here. We can do, let's just try plugging these in. Batched or stacked. I don't know. We could try stacked queries. We don't know the database yet. Conditional errors. Let's try that. Well, let's not do Oracle. Let's try with Microsoft. Really, I'm just trying to find out the database type right now. If A equals A. Does not work. I don't know if that could have worked if we had the whole thing right, but select case when. Let's try this. And we want a true statement here. A equals A. Select case when. That does not work. All right, this is awesome. I'm doing a really bang up job on this one, aren't I? We need what? So else sleep end. This should have parentheses around it, and we can do or. No, that wasn't long enough. All right. And then after this, we'll try the freaking stacked queries. A equals A. Select if A equals A, sleep 10, otherwise A. That looks good to me. And nothing. So we don't know the database type. This looks good. Or you'd think that they'd call it out if it was Oracle, right? But let's just see. They started us off with Oracle. Is when A equals A. A equals A. Then okay, not that. All right, let's let's try some stat queries here. So we're going to do the soon quote, semicolon, and then select sleep 5. We don't. Oh yeah, we still do need that. And we have to URL encode all of this. So I'm going to just highlight it and then do Control U, send that, nothing. We can do PG sleep, send that. Hey, this looks promising. 5,000 milliseconds. Ha! Finally. Sorry it took so long. We're dealing with Postgres. And we can use stacked queries. All right. Wow. I don't know what to say. All right. Stacked queries. So let's try select A equals A. We should get a welcome back because that's true. And we do not. Semicolon select A equals A. We do not get that. B. But we can use stacked queries. Is that going to help us? Not if we can't get our welcome back. So but it's Postgres. So let's not use stacked queries. We'll do tracking ID equals ZZZZ, or select A equals B. This should not return the welcome message, and it does not. And add in a here, and it should. Tracking ID equals or select A equals A. There we go. There's our welcome back. So we got nothing or this, right? So that it will be true, and therefore we'll get the welcome back. And if we change this to B, and we don't have it, change it back to A, and we have it. So that's going to be our true or false. Sorry, it took so long. But let me just write this down. P. That's our true false. Now we want to get the length again. And we know we're on Postgres, so we've made at least some progress. And I don't think was there length? I might be doing this different than what they have it here, because I want to know the length, and it doesn't look like that's important to them. So let's figure out, I'm just gonna do a search here, Postgres SQL length of string. Char length. Select char length. Is that what I want? Let's just try char length. I don't know the difference between all of these. Here, this is what I was expecting, just length. So let's try this. All right. So that means our select length of A equals, no. Look at how it's select length. Looks good to me. Oh, there's one tricky part with Postgres that we may need to deal with. Equals 4, right? Definitely equals 4. I don't think any of these characters need to be, oh yeah. All right. That's true. We get our welcome. We got one match. And if I do 5, send, we do not. Just go back, make sure it wasn't a fluke. Send, we've got our one match. So this is our length query. Okay. This will make more, I'm going to do Control-Shift-U, and then I'm going to copy that out and add it to our notes. Length. And this was true, false. Length. Next up, we need the char. Let me show you what that means. So we want to know what the value of the first character is. So the way we do that, or select, we're going to do substring, and this is in the SQLi cheat sheet. Substring Postgres. So we want the text here. We want the character of, or the position that we're going to start at, how many characters we're going to grab. So this will change as we go through it. This we'll always just grab one character. To show you how we use it, select substring, and that was the right, yeah, substring. Everything's the same except for Oracle on that. Substring, AAA. We're going to do, let's do this. A, B, C, D, just so we can see a difference. We're going to grab the first character. We're only going to grab one character. And we're going to check if that is equal to the string A. Okay? This should be true. We got substring, end quote there, select. That looks good. Oh, let me URL encode it. We do have a true, so maybe I don't need to URL encode that. You can see we do have a true. Now, if I do this, we have a false. And if I change this to the second character, should be back to true. And we are. All right. So you can see that this says get one. Well, the way we're using it is get one character of it at a time, test it against this. If it's true, we get a welcome back message. If it's not true, we do not. And so that is our char query. So let me copy this. Combine these two with the knowledge of what the page looks like after what the page looks like with a true or a false statement, and we can get all the data from the database. What we're going to do is, let's say we want to find out the database version, right? So we're going to run select version, I believe, on Postgres. Yep. All right. We're going to run select a version, right? That's going to return a result. Then we're going to say, we're going to do ZZ or select length of this query. And we're going to say, does that equal, 5? And we're going to check if it's true. If it's not true, we're going to check 6 and 7 until we finally get the length, right? Then we're going to use this query and we're going to put this right here, select version, and it's a good practice anytime you have a select, like right here, put an extra set of parentheses around it. That will save you some trouble later on. I don't know the exact rules of when it needs it or when it's not. My vote or my suggestion is if your SQL injection has a select statement, make sure there's parentheses just for that. So you can see here we have parentheses for just this. In the length, we already had a parentheses surrounding that, but we're going to add another one just for the select. All right, this one, substring, select a version. We're going to say, does the first character equal 8? And then 9? And then 0? You know what I mean? We're going to loop through all the characters possible until we find a match. Then we're going to go to the next character and do the same and over again. Yeah, and that's how we're going to pull information from the database based on the response, whether or not the welcome back message is included. So let's finally get to scripting this. This lab is called Conditional Response. And my mouse is, let's open up our template. Get that in here. All right, we know we want an is true function that's going to take a response, and it is going to check if the welcome back message is included. We're going to start here just because we know that this is something we want. Let's remember what it looks like. If I welcome back in response.text, return true, return false. That's going to be our indicator in our script whether or not the statement was true. We also need we need to format length query and pass. We need def format char query. This is where we're going to, put all the stuff we need together in this. So let's start with the format length query. This is going to require a length as an input, and we are going to return, this was our length. We want double quotes. Whoops. Copy. I there. Select this right here. We also want our query. So query, inner query, let's call it inner query, and our length. This right here is where our inner query is going to be. We're going to do inner query. This is where our length is going to be. And we do need to curly brace this also. F, and we can return this. So inner query is what we're going to call whatever we're asking for here. Length, obviously, we're just going to loop through and give it different lengths until we get a positive result. We know we'll have a positive result from our is true. Let's do our format char query. So F, let's copy, this one. Select substring. Right here is our inner query. Inner query. Inner query. We're also going to need the character. We need two other prompts because we need to replace this one and this one. So we need, what are we going to call this first one? Index and char. It sounds fine. So we'll do index and char. We do need it in double quotes. We're going to change this a little bit though. So right now, I don't want to give us any issues if we start sending special characters. Like imagine we're checking a single quote. That's going to be an issue for us right now. So how can we do this without using regular characters? And the way we're going to do that is we're going to use the decimal representation of the ASCII character. And let's look up how to do that in Postgres SQL char. It's either CHR or CHAR. Looks like it's CHR. Char number. Yeah, that's what we want. This is going to turn the we want since we don't char, we don't need the single quotes now because we're not putting in a literal string. I don't think. So we're going to give it the character number. So like, whatever the equivalent of A is. I'm going to go to IPython and I'm going to do ord of A. So 97. And this will say the character with the ASCII, with the decimal representation of 97 is the lowercase a, and check if it's true. One thing to keep in mind with this is that in MySQL at least, let me show you this, lowercase and capitals are the same, are treated as equals. Select A equals A. See, we get a true statement there. I don't know if that is true in Postgres. We do docker exec. Let's do Postgres. All right, select A equals A. we get false. Woo, good. Because otherwise we would need to, let's just make sure I do it right, and then we get true. All right. So this is important to know. If you're doing it, you need to be aware that MySQL, and this is where we, check the character, is going to return true for a lowercase when the value is actually a uppercase, or vice versa. There's a trick to that you do the binary case, and that might be in the cheat sheet. Let's binary. I don't see it here. MySQL binary char. You use the binary keyword, and this will make it do true or false. Let me just show you. This is going to be a long video, I can tell already, because we're barely started on our script, and we need a lot to do. So I'm looking in my notes for MySQL. Here we go. Binary char. So select, let's do binary char 97. Remember, we decided that was the lowercase a. We expect this to be false now, or at least I do. Whoops, we just selected it. Select binary char equals a. We don't need parentheses there. We just need this. Look at that. We got 0. That's a good thing. And then if we, what's the ordinal value of Python-C? We want print ord of a capital A. $65. So make sure we did it right. This should be true. Yeah. All right, so you can see this is the way we can get a true representation of what's stored in the database by doing this binary char, and then the ordinal number of the ASCII character. Hope that makes sense. It's one of those gotchas that can really ruin your day or have you scratching your head for quite a while. We've now formatted the char, and we don't need that here because Postgres will not treat that as an equal if they're uppercase and lowercase. We've got our length, we've got a char query, and we've got is true. So that looks pretty good. What we need is to start looping through these. Let's do this. Let's do something simple to start with to make sure everything's working. Our inner query is going to be, let's do select version. Do we select version? I want something that we know of. That we know the first character of. So let's just start with select 1, 2, 3, 4. We know the length and the first character of this. So this will be a fine inner query. we can, first we want to format the length query. Oh, we need one more. We want def format request. Format request is going to set everything up so that we can send it. We're going to use something a little bit different than what we've done before. Normally we've created the request and just sent it. In this one, I don't want to just create the request. I want to prep a request and send it later. So let's try. So request equals requests dot request. It is going to be a get. We are going to get the shop, the URL. We'll pass in the URL to this function. And we need cookies. Request equals, so cookies equals, this is where we're going to put in our tracking ID, I think, yep. And this is where our payload's gonna be, right? I'll just go like that for now. We're gonna get that, we're gonna need a URL here. What else do we need? Oh, we need to prep it. So prepped equals request dot prepare and then return prepped. Again, this is just getting the request ready, adding in all the parameters and info we need for the request, and then we can send it at a later time. And you'll see why I want to do it this way when we start doing multiple threads and in a loop. For tracking ID, we want our query here. So this will be our outer query, right? This is going to be the whole thing. Outer query. So once we have, formatted it, we can just plug it in here and then send it. Hope that makes sense. So let's we've decided we've selected our inner query, what information we want to get. At first, it's very simple. We're just getting this. Let's run let's just try I in range 1 to 5. Let's start with that. And then we're going to do format length query, inner query, and I for the length. Once we know we're going to send this to the format request, right? So let's save this. Format length query. So this is now the outer query. Format request. We want the args dot, let's create our shop here. I don't want to do the args.url because I really want that normalized URL. And so we'll do shop equals shop args.url args.no proxy. And we'll do, instead of args here, we'll do shop.base URL. Format request. So we need the URL, and then we need outer query. This will be the request. Let's save it as prepped equals. Let's send it and then test if it's true. So response equals prepped, and then to actually send that, we want to do, we need to create a session. So let's do this. S equals request dot session. We'll provide it here. Oh, let's do sesh. And then here we can send it with session. So sesh dot send prepped. We need our if args dot if shop dot no proxy. Then we need prepped. We don't need anything else. Else resp equals sesh dot send prepped proxies equals utils dot proxies and verify equals false. And then we want to send that to is true. If is true, resp. We want to break out of the loop. We're going to do log.info length of request, length of query response is, this is I, right? Break. We want to actually save this too. Length, response length equals I equals 0 equals none. Let's do none first. Let's save this. Response length equals I break. That's fine. Well, let's do this. And then we want to add in F, not B or R. And then we're going to break. So what we've written here is we've got a query. We're looping through that from 1 to 5. Let's make this 6. Well, whatever. It doesn't matter. And then if this response has true, so we're formatting the length and we're looping through, changing the length every time until this comes back with true. And then if it does, we're exiting out. So this is our first test of this kind of system. We don't need anything else. That's all we're going to do for now. Yes. So let's check if our lab is still alive, which we spent a lot of time. So, yep, it is dead. This is, we're spending a lot of time on this one, and that's because it's the first blind SQL injection. Once we have all of this structure in place, then, it'll be much simpler to do the next ones. And we're building it out this way so that it is much simpler. We just change what what the query looks like, but the logic is always the same. So we want Python. We want to write this file. Python conditional responses. Let me give it this. We want this to say that it's 4 characters. That's what we're looking for. Perfect. That's exactly right. Now, let's move this out of main. And yeah, let's move this out of main. So def determine length. I don't know what it needs now yet. We want this. And let's put response length here so we know, I don't know, just because. Let's do inner query URL instead of using shop, no proxy. Instead of passing shop, I'm doing URL. I don't know if that's a good idea or not. I don't know which one's better. Oh, we do need we do need a session. All right. Break. We need, instead of break, we can return this. So we do the same thing we're returning I instead of the response length. So down here, got our inner query. Here we want to set the if, let's do response length equals determine response length with our inner query shop.base URL. Should I just pass in shop? Yeah, we'll just pass in shop. The only reason I don't want to do pass in shop is it restricts this, but that's okay. Makes it easier to pass in the class, but then that means that this function now only works with a class as an input instead of a URL. I do want it to work with a URL and then Control R, the no proxy. And let's just make it easier. Equals false. So if I don't give a proxy response, it's going to default to using a proxy. Response length equals determine response length shop dot base URL shop dot no proxy. So log this, log.info, determining response length. This we will put in here. We'll run it. Log.info response length is response length of queries. We don't want that there. We've got it right there. Let's just print this so we don't have the error. And let's run it again. Make sure it still works as expected. Does. Perfect. Next, we want to get the char. So we want to return, we want to figure out what the response text is. Def determine response char. I'm going to do inner query. I don't know what else we need yet. We know we're looking, we're going to do this. So let's log first, log.info. Determining, let's not, yeah. Determining, no. It's going to loop over a ton of times. I don't want this to log every time. The reason I say it's going to loop over every time is because this is just going to do one character. In fact, we know we want the index, I guess, and then index, that's fine. We need to set up the available characters. Let's go up here and do avail chars. And up here, we're going to do import. And I always forget if it's string or stringas. IPython import string. It's string. And why I want to import string is because we're going to do string.ascii, lowercase ASCII digits, plus string.ascii. We're going to do all the printable characters. Printable. See all those? That's what we're going to use. We're going to loop through. And we even have space here. So I'm going to put that here. Where are we? Available chars equals string.printable. Now, we want to turn this into a list. We don't need to. But we do need to turn it, we need to turn it into the ordinal values of each. We can do that by doing chars equals, we're going to do a list. We're going to do the ordinal value of a character for x in avail chars. So we're going to take the ordinal value of each in a list comprehension to return a list. For x in chars, we want to run kind of the same thing here. Let's just copy this and then we'll edit it. Outer query equals format. Here we're going to not do format length query. We're going to do format char query. It needs the inner query. It needs the index. And it needs x. Remember how we did char here? So we've already got the ordinal value, the decimal value of the ASCII character, which is perfect because that's what we need here. Outer query. We need the URL Let's do it here. No proxy equals false. And I have determined response. We don't have a session here. Prepped format request. Format request will work. We've got our URL. We need outer query. We've got that here. If no proxy. Otherwise this, if is true, we want response char equals char of x. Remember, that's going to be the ordinal, so we can return that. We're not going to log this. We're going to return response char. All right, let's try that. We're going to try to get the first letter from this select statement. And we're going to give it the, we don't need that yet. Response, we're going to do print, determine response char for inner query index. So we're going to get the 0 character. No, it needs to start with 1. Sorry, because we're passing that straight through to here, we do need to start it at 1. And where was I? Okay, so we need the URL, which is shop.base URL. And no proxy is fine. What we expect to get it back from this query is A, if we did our stuff right. So we're going to see 4 and then A. Control D. Yes, let's check that our lab is still live. Ooh, thankfully. Determine a response length. 4, which is awesome. And now we should be getting the available chars. We can see what that looks like here. 1 char 53. Hey, and it looks like this one, char 97, we know that's A. 4A. Boom. We did it. That's a huge load off. So this is how we're going to solve it. We determined what a single char is, character is. We determined the length. Now we just need to loop through this for this many times. And we will have the whole shebang. To do the looping, let's do it slow first, but I would rather add in threads kind of just as soon as possible. We need another layer here. Def get response string. This is going to handle the looping. So it's going to first determine the response length. Response length. Let's do response length equals this. And then it's going to, for I in range 0 or 1 to response length for each character. I think we need +1, right? Let's just try it with +1. I can't remember if we do or not. Well, all right, so let's logic this out. So if the length is 4, range, doesn't range not print the last number? So if we go to IPython for x in range 1, 4, print x. Yeah, we definitely want the 4th character. So we definitely need that. All right. Sorry. Response length. So we've got the length. We're looping through each character starting at the first character. And we're going to call determine response char for that character. We need to get the responses. We'll do chars equals, we'll do it as a list. Response chars dot append with this. And then we'll do print. We'll do return. Nothing dot join response chars. So we're getting each character. We're going to save that into a list, and then we're going to join that list and return it. We haven't flushed out the middle part here. Response length. What does this need? It needs inner query, URL, and no proxy. Let's just leave that blank for now. So that means that this needs inner query, URL, determine response char. What does this need? Inner query, index. This is I, URL, and that's fine. No, we should add. I should stop saying this fine. No proxy and no proxy. And here, no proxy. All right. Join. I think that'll work. Let's do get, and so now instead of this stuff, should be able to just do get response string inner query shop.base URL shop.no proxy. I don't know if our thing is still live, but let's, oh, and we need to actually write the file. Dang it. Do we want this anymore? No, because we've used all of that. All right, we've got the length. We're determining response length. We've got it as 4. Now we're testing each character. 1 by 1. This does take a minute. So let me go ahead and pause the video while this is running. Let's see where it's at. It's on character 3, so we're getting close. It's just got to go up to, I think, 97. Oh, here's character 4. So we're getting very close. Hey, there we go. We did not print it out. Oh, that's rich. Good job, Trevor. That was really dumb. Response string equals this log.info, right? Response is all right. Now that we know, let's just try, just to make sure it's working. I'm gonna do 2 characters, run it again. This shouldn't take very long, and we should get AA printed out to the screen. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to add threads. Now we can get any information we want from the database. Response is AA. Perfect. What I want to do is add threads. Let's make sure we're formatting. We're doing that. All right. Because I don't like it taking too long. Let's do import concurrent.futures. And we're going to use concurrent futures to manage our threads. All right, get results string. How are we going to do this? We want, instead of just running it itself, we want to create that as a task and then have those tasks be run by a job. We'll return the results. We'll need to save the position so that we know how to reorder the answer as results come in, because they'll come in, mixed number. All right, let's start with tasks equals baba. We'll need to create a task for each. So for X, for I in range, we'll do, we'll call the answer result. Create a dictionary, we'll call it position. We're gonna, in the response length, we're gonna save the position. We are going to give it the URL and the no proxy, and then finally the inner query. It's everything it needs to run it and then to reorder back. Instead of response length. Oh. All right. So we're going to put this as tasks.append results. So we're going to have a list of tasks. Each task has all the information it needs in order to be run. The results from that is going to be not ordered. Response chars. That's fine. Here we're going to do with concurrent dot futures dot thread pool executor max workers equals add in num threads as executor results. So we're going to submit each of our tasks, right? And then we're going to save the results. So executor dot submit, and we want to run the determine response char. That's going to be the task that each one's going to run. It's going to have its results task for task in tasks. All right, that looks all right. For f in concurrent dot futures dot as completed results. So let's save the results as they're completed. Response. We want to save the results. So response chars dot append f dot result. Now we need to, once we're all done, we need to format the results. We don't need any of this anymore. Format, let's return format results of response chars. Just because we need to reorder the results into the correct order. So let's do that. Def format results the results are going to come in Give me just a second here. I'm trying to think through this. So we're going to receive the response chars. That's going to be a list. We need to create a new list. Inside that new list, we're going to do res. We're going to get the result for res in. We're going to sort it by response chars. This is a dictionary, remember, so we're going to sort it by the key equals lambda item is the position. Boom. boom, return dot join results. What we need to do is make sure we're saving, result. Is up here when we receive this task. We are going to, instead of receiving all of this, we're going to just receive the task. No proxy. All right, session equals this. That's fine. Outer query equals task inner query. Index task. This is now called position. The URL is task URL. Outer query, we're building no proxy, task, no proxy. And then we want to save that. We need to make sure we save it into the task. And then instead of returning the char, we need to return the task. So task result, and it's got to be named result, equals str char x. We're going to change from the ordinal char string just to make sure that we do get a string, and then we're going to return task. This will be the whole dictionary object, including its position, which we need so we can reorder it back to its proper position. All right. Well, heck, I don't know how we're doing. Let's check it out. B, C, D. Let's do, start off, dub threads equals 1. And we need that for get response string. Python our thing is still live. Let's see how everything's working. One. Looks like it's still, working, right? It's got 2 of the 4 already. There's 3. All right, so 1 more. That shouldn't take too long. And hopefully we get the correct response back in the correct order. I will be pretty stoked about that. We do. Awesome. All right, and we've got threads. So let's try it again with, let's go full out. 4 threads. The response length is not threaded at the moment. I don't know if we need that. This should be much faster. num threads, and it was. Took 21 seconds versus a minute and 3. And yeah, the number of threads, let's add a protection here. It doesn't make sense to have more threads than there are letters in the request. So we'll do if num threads is greater than, we don't know. Once we know the response length, which we won't know until right here, if num threads, the number of threads we're looking for is larger than the response length, we're going to change it to num threads equals response length. This is just a little protection. So we're not trying to use more threads than we have characters, jobs for them to do. So we'll get, if the number of threads that we input is longer, we'll just get the number of threads. All right, let's finally check if it's working. Let's just grab version for now. I'm going to let that run. This will take probably a minute. Uh-oh. Didn't take long at all. Not supported between instances of int and none type. Well, crap. That means select version equals 1, 2, 3, 4. Shouldn't have moved on. Don't I already have determining length of response. Yeah, so this should never get here until this. All right, whatever. I don't know what's going on here. How did response length become none? Oh my goodness. It's because we're only testing for right here. Let's change up. Let's make global variable length, max length will equal, let's stay conservative at first at 100. So this means in our determine response length, instead of 5, we're going to do max length. That's why. And we really should write some protections, like a try there. If we don't actually get the length, then we can't move on. So if length right here is none, let's do that. If response length is none, log.info could not determine response length, and then we'll sys.exit. And instead of error info, we'll do error. That'll protect our script a little bit. Looks like it's either super long or we've got something wrong. 50 characters for select version. Yeah, we're not going to do that. we want, let's just try running what we actually want, which is select. We want select password from users where username equals administrator. That's what we really want, right? Let me just double check. Username, password, and we're looking to find out the password of the admin user. Okay, let's try that. Hopefully, we get a good length. 8. I'll start getting worried if we get to like 30. Hey, 20 characters. Sweet. And now we've got a bunch of threads working to check the letters. This is working out extremely well. This is checking letter 3. I think we have 4 threads working right now. Yeah, we decided on 4 threads. We can pump those numbers up, you know, get this going a little faster, bro. The query response is 20. Really happy about that. Once we get the response string, we can just shop.login with administrator and response string. And then shop.is solved. That's it. So we'll run this, make sure it works, and then we'll run this and solve it. And in the next one, we can go into a little bit more detail on all of this logic. I know we did a lot of maybe tougher things, especially with concurrent futures and doing the threading. But I think you'll be able to see it really does pay off. I really like that we can, you know, put in any query that we want here and just get the results. I also like that we formatted this so that we can reuse the code really well. All we'll need to do is change, you know, the format, these formatting ones, including the format request. We'll need to update is true depending on how, you know, that goes. But then the logic, these from get response string, determine response length, all of these we can just reuse and reuse. I don't think we'll have to change much, if anything. Hey, we got the password. Perfect. Let's up these numbers to, let's try 8. We don't want to overload it, but I don't want to wait 3 minutes either. I want my administrator password now, dang it. Yeah, so I'm really happy with that part. And then look at our script. Looks good. Hopefully this solves and we will be good to go. Let's now start querying the numbers. You can see the number of requests jump through the roof. We'll give it just a minute here for it to log in. This is a long video, isn't it? Could not be helped. This is a foundational, you know, lab for the blind SQL injection. And we had to build out everything and talk about it. But now that we have it, the other ones will go fairly quickly. Or at least that's what I hope. It would really suck if I'd messed up either the volume, like the audio, or the video, and all of this was lost. That would be terrible. All right, let's check where we're at. 18, so we're getting real close. It's probably only got a character or two left. By the rate of responses, it's not much. Oh, we got it. Lab is solved. Look at that. Beautiful. Love it. So we did that all in Blind SQL. If you have any questions, let me know. I know this is a doozy of a video. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much. Goodbye.